Alright, let's give this another shot. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. I swear I'm doing this correctly. Maybe I should just try hitting the reset button and give it another go. If at some point a similar dialogue ran through your head, then chances are you know what's up. A legendary code ingrained in a vast majority of us NES diehards. Although some will frown upon it or say just get good, I've always appreciated the code for many reasons other than a way to score additional lives and power-ups. Besides, I proudly wear my 8-bit battle scars. It provided newcomers to a series accommodations for the more challenging aspects of a game, while additionally allowing veterans a way to practice those painstakingly difficult endgame scenarios that tend to rear their ugly head. Which, let's be honest, weren't typically fair to begin with. In these moments, there is no series I would rely on the Konami code more so than when playing through the likes of Contra. As a youngster, I first discovered the series while loitering aimlessly about my local mom-and-pop rental shop. Dollar rentals for the night? Hey, why not? I waited patiently for the service clerk to retrieve the cartridge, only to return with some foreign code scribbled across my receipt. Puzzled at first glance, I shrugged it off, grabbing my things and proceeded towards the exit, only to hear a voice shout back, "You're gonna need it, kid." Shortly after, I'd arrive home and fire up my NES, only to succumb to the sheer brutality that is Contra, quickly grabbing for that receipt as I attempted to decipher its cryptic message. I would in fact return, but now with a vengeful 30 lives. Where was I headed? Who the hell cared? I sure didn't. I just saw two of my favorite action stars staring back from the cartridge cover, and I just knew it was going to be a bitchin' good time. So without further ado, welcome to the month of Contra, and along with it, my personal tales across this beloved franchise. Now, most of us have fond memories of the NES port of Contra, and rightfully so. The game at its core is a die-hard run-and-gun action platformer, notorious for its challenging gameplay. It's dripping in all the quintessential action hero tropes. Don't believe me? Again, refer to the box art. These two might be the second most blatant Hollywood ripoffs, next to Donkey Kong himself. However, with the resume these men hold, I can't help but agree with their representation. I can't think of two dudes better equipped for the job at hand, and they sure as hell don't lack in attitude, like another infamous duo I've familiarized myself with. Contra got its fresh start, popping off on the arcade scene. Here it gained critical acclaim to warrant a few home ports, with the NES release becoming the most renowned. Konami had the perfect touch when it came to hardware specs. They always found a way to utilize these resources to their full potential, and I believe many will agree with this take, especially when it comes to their home console ports. They excelled exceptionally in this department, navigating console limitations by mastering their art of allocation, further fleshing out each experience that much more. Where a game may lack in graphical fidelity, it's made up for in gameplay, and Contra just may be the poster child for this, as we now embark on an 8-bit journey across the Nintendo Entertainment System. Our story opens to the year 2631 AD. A meteorite is on a collision course with Earth, eventually crashing down atop the Galuga Archipelago, a tropical island somewhere off the neighboring shorelines of New Zealand. If you're playing through this journey on the NES, then the fictional destination has been changed to somewhere deep inside the Amazon. This large meteorite houses an alien race led by an entity known across the galaxies as Java. In time, this creature soaked up the island's resources, growing substantially in strength and power, manipulating the island locals along with their military, establishing an organized hierarchy led by Java, whom would command an army under the alias the Red Falcons. They would begin experimenting with weapons of war capable of a large-scale invasion across the world's nations. As intel on these events spread, Earth Marine Corp would task their Contra unit with uncovering this base of operations in efforts to reveal the entity controlling these military forces behind the scenes. So, what exactly does the term Contra stand for? It's a title awarded to a superior soldier possessing superhuman drive and ability while excelling in guerrilla tactics. At least that's what Konami describes these elite special forces as. Well, now that we have that cleared up, I don't believe we have been formally introduced to our two commandos. The first being Mad Dog Bill Riser. He's a special breed of hero, cunning like a lion with the spirit of a Viking warrior. Hey, look, that's what the manual says, so it's just getting me hyped, okay? He's accompanied by his partner Lance Bean? I can't remember his full name for the life of me, but no one plays as Lance anyway, so... All jokes aside, he would also go by a codename, the Scorpion. Our two specialized super soldiers pack a large assortment of heavy arms that find them well equipped for any task at hand. At first glance, the duo's got that 8-bit Mario Bros thing going on, which again in large is due to the graphical limitations of the NES hardware. It's not a deal breaker by any means, just keep in mind, blue ass kicker is Bill and red ass kicker is Lance, so that's really all you gotta know. Besides that, just be prepared to blow shit up, because you'll be doing a whole lot of it with a vast assortment of power-ups at your disposal. These require a bit of marksmanship to acquire. Some are housed in steel containers sporting the Red Falcon logo, while others hover across the skies in these tiny capsules. When you reach the indoor zones, power-ups will be acquired through combat by disarming the Royal Guards located throughout the interior stage blocks. Each power-up will require a bit of mastering in order to maximize their impact. You embark on this mission, armed with your trusty rifle, picking off snipers in a defensive line looking to stampede over you. It feels like a little pea shooter out the box, but in the matter of moments, you discover just what this baby is capable of, picking up some much needed power-ups and going to town on the incoming enemy defenses. The machine gun is my standard go-to, a continuous stream of firepower that's relaxing on the thumbs. A nice and steady flow of continuous rounds that can be used in a rushdown offense that's pretty useful on more trickier enemies, especially in close proximity. Doubling up with rapid fire only amplifies your power-ups, making weapons like the machine gun even more menacing with each shot fired. Depending on the weapon equipped, pairing them with a rapid fire can break even the most challenging sections of the game. The laser is easily the most powerful weapon of choice, a charged energy stream that is typically a one-and-done ordeal, able to pierce through an entire line of infantry. It's also a pretty satisfying weapon to fire, as the sound of the electricity pulsing through the barrel just sounds wicked and the laser can be cancelled out by refiring. So take aim and give it your best shot. The fireball is just sort of meh. What I mean by that is it's just so-so. It reminds me of that shitty Fester's Quest power-up everyone raves about, a spiraling one-trick pony that sorta swirls across the screen. It has a decent surface spread, which I guess may help with the more trickier placed enemies, yet it feels so slow in delivery. I just groan the moment I bump into it. On the flip side, we have the complete opposite with the oh-so-satisfying spread shot. What can I say that hasn't been already? It's just plain nasty and broken in the best way possible. The spread lives up to the name, engulfing anything in its path. Each bullet's strength is equivalency to that of the machine gun, so just take that into consideration as you watch the spectacle of lights shower down on your enemies. It's a thing of beauty and in many ways can carry a beginner's run. There's also a few quality of life pickups to go over, the first being the barrier that gives you temporary invulnerability, leading a Super Mario inspired charge across the stage. There's also the flash that detonates on contact. It's sort of like a screen nuke that wipes out any and all on-screen enemies. I've had some close calls, nabbing this in the split nick of time to see another day. So, now that we got our gunplay down, it's time to coordinate our path to Java's domain. For today's mission, I'll be tackling the Famicom release of Contra 1. Why the family release, you say? Well, after comparing the two regional releases side by side, the proof is in the footage, and on top of that, the US release is missing a great deal of story elements along with our trusty map. In addition, the Famicom release also utilizes the VRC2 chip, which allowed a great deal of additional content to be included, such as mission cutscenes, a larger soundtrack, and a good deal of graphical effects that in my opinion just tells a complete story. There's also fun little bonuses, including a sound test and level select, which is pretty important, especially for those that want to get some good practice in for future speedruns. Now, let's talk about these stages, 8 in total that tell a hero's story as you now proceed forward, strategically mapping out a plan of attack. Without hesitation, you're deployed down into the heart of the jungle, jumping into the action as you get a solid feel for the controls. They're smooth as butter too, capable of 8-directional aiming, along with total control of movement, navigating past the many entry hurdles that will teach you the ropes. I can start off on the upper path, testing my reflexes as I hot-footed across the electrically charged highways, or take a quick dip below, picking off enemy defenses as I get a little feel for some undercover espionage. Knowledge is key to optimizing your survival. The further you venture into the jungle's rocky terrain, the more reliant you become on your knowledge of the land. You have plenty opportunities to do so. The game puts the pieces in place for you to succeed, and it all depends on how you use them. You get creative with each playthrough, taking a different approach with each run as you make your way to the fortified zone, now looking to ambush the enemies on watch. The barrier for entry is decked out with armed machinery and a lone sniper perched on the rooftop. If positioned just right, you can easily stay out of range while steadily dismantling this mean hunk of junk, blasting a hole through the center to lead a charge ahead. Contra does a fantastic job switching up your modes of play. This makes for some diversity in playstyle, with the fortified zones taking a more pseudo 3D approach to them. This highly surveillanced area is made up of sectors that need to be breached by disarming the power generators. Spherical orbs that power each sector of the underground base, manned by infantry and mechanical weaponry. You need to stay up with your footwork, dodging the rolling floor traps while turrets fire about, turning this stage into a mini bullet hell. Sneaking past security grants you access to the underground mainframe, fortified by a wall of defenses that must be dismantled to access the core. Located at the very center is the Red Falcon's latest war machine. This thing must be something of alien origin, as this sucker uses advanced tech to send a ring of fire spiraling your way. Stick and move, targeting in on the eye until you make a breakthrough, causing the alien war vessel to implode, setting this base ablaze. You can now grab some fresh air, climbing your way to the surface, now encapsulated by lush mountain terrain, layered in waterfalls that flow down along its rich sediment. The mountain is carved out with pockets of debris, forming boulders that tumble downwards into the battlefield. The stage can get hella tricky at times, requiring you to consistently move upwards as a flurry of enemy fire rains below. Timing your jumps just right can score you some key power-ups to aid you on your ascent. I love how aesthetically pleasing this scene truly is, transitioning seamlessly as you climb to the very top to our second stronghold. You're greeted by a creature I can only describe as something of nightmares. An alien entity turned bioweapon, flailing about, spewing a heatwave of fiery blasts as its tentacles look to wrap you up. By now, you're prepared for this ugly abomination, jumping back and forth until you get a clean shot off, disarming this ugly son of a bitch, only to further take his bloody head off. Making short change of this base of operations is easier said than done. Security measures have now been ramped up, and enemies have indeed increased in numbers. The energy cores have also been fortified with additional layers of protection, so be cautious with each shot taken. Trust me, you can easily get steamrolled when you least expect it. Now, at the center of this operation, you will encounter an advanced weapon of war, capable of illusionary tactics, projecting a mirror copy of itself for double the firepower. You need to continuously surveillance the perimeter with each shot fired, as the twins launch matching projectiles that, oddly enough, look like tiny bubbles that float about. They're painstakingly difficult to maneuver past, and if you don't take care of them right away, things will begin to catch up with you. Quite literally. Stay in rhythm with this duo as they move in and out of focus, lining your targets up at the perfect time to make contact. Take them out one by one to alleviate the assault, and eventually you will triumph in victory. As you trek across this tropical island paradise, the weather soon shifts and temperature dips as the night settles in. A storm begins to brew, hailing down an icy snowstorm atop the now frozen mountain caps. My favorite stage of the game that's easily the make or break point for most beginner playthroughs. Why I say this? Because this stage introduces us to these assholes right here. These stiffs will put you on your ass without hesitation. Strapped to their launchers, they pack some real firepower, popping off in multiple succession with a brief pause between rounds. They're typically placed up close, so as the screen loads, you have limited time to react. To make matters worse, the stage itself can easily swallow you up, as grenades are continuously launched from the backgrounds, and the cliffs become separated by an icy body of water covered in troops. There's no way around it. You have to just familiarize yourself to this layout over time. It's going to come down to trial and error. You'll constantly find yourself in a pinch, coming face to face with some heavy metal machinery that will take a beating. These are those heart-pounding moments that make Contra truly Contra, firing away without delay. If your thumbs cramp up, you're getting steamrolled over. Thankfully, they have limited range, letting dexterity determine your outcome. As the night closes out, a giant mothership will target in from above, blocking your access point ahead. This encounter can easily get the best of you if you don't have the proper measures to contain it. The craft will teleport at random, opening up its hatches to deploy tiny space pods while incoming rounds drop down into the battlefield. The key is to stand just out of range of the craft's line of fire while jumping in rhythm as the mini pods zoom past. If you execute this just right, you can take this baby out with ease every time. You eventually find your way to warmer climate, a giant energy field that powers this whole operation. The withered infrastructure is covered in exposed wires and broken pipes that emit large energy waves that pulsate across the field. These currents fire in rhythm, so timing your jumps is everything. Keep a keen eye on snipers, feasting on an opportunity to get their shot off. The energy field lives just above the main hangar, which leads to the alien base. This couldn't be more obvious by the massive armored linebacker equipped with some heavy-duty padding to sack you back into your own end zone. This big sumbitch will rush at you quicker than a squad of charging chucks. He's equipped with energy discs that he throws across the runway, looking to mix you up. He's got that Konami Big Boss feel to him, so you'll need to chip away until he slowly bears that wonderful orange Cheeto hue. Keep your composure and continue jumping over each charge until he eventually changes flavors once more into that flaming hot variety. Putting him away reveals a clear path forward to the alien base. The hangar is your pathway to victory. A superhighway of mechanical madness. The stage will bear branching paths separated by unique mechanisms. The upper path feels like your best bet, as the route below sports a large assortment of those dreaded wired claws that prey upon you. You can catch a ride to discover some optional goodies which you can use to tackle the many spiked wall beds that pop up, requiring you to exert even more manpower. You need to stay on your toes too, peeking back as you break through each line of defense till you reach the entrance of the alien base. Clear a path ahead and be ready for what lies behind these doors. It's time to lead a one-man charge into the Red Falcon's base. This is by far one of the most impressive stage designs of any 8-bit offering, especially considering the year this released. Maybe Konami discovered its own alien tech while making this because they knew something the rest of these developers clearly didn't. The floors themselves come to life as Java's galactic seed has now spread well into the island's core, replicating at a rapid pace. You will initially get a warm welcoming too, a face-to-face with Java, whom will regurgitate tiny offspring to feast upon you. It's literally Aliens the movie coming to life on your NES, so don't hesitate. Take this sucker's head clean off as you continue to fire like a madman down the enemy halls. With Java wounded, the lifeform retreats. While following in pursuit, new life will emerge buried in the walls, spewing out some gnarly alien DNA in the form of gel spores that follow your every move. Don't rush things. The key is clearing these life forms to create a safe path ahead until you touch down onto the runway that houses the beating heart of Java. The lifeblood of this brood pumps through the chambers, sucking the life out of the planet as it continues budding off tiny hatchlings. These little scorpion-esque hellspawns appear from above or below, guarding the heart, jumping towards you like those pesky Hollywood facehuggers. These alien nests will continue to replicate until picked off one by one, clearing a line of fire to slay the beast. Keep your fire steady and continue pumping lead into the bleeding heart of Java. All your blood, sweat, and tears will soon pay off as a hero now triumphs in this very moment of victory. As the island begins to destruct from within, our hero escapes to higher grounds. Just as his fate seems sealed to this cursed landmass, a rescue chopper touches down just in the nick of time, scooping up our battle-tested commando as the team swiftly ascends, high above the burning debris as the island erupts in the distance, closing out our mission. The original Contra is arguably one of the most integral titles for the NES library. It's remarkable just how well it's aged, as the sprite work and in-game visuals still look great to this day. Where many early NES games become difficult due to the confines of hardware limitations or simply by means to extend gameplay, Contra uses this limited toolset to deliver a well-rounded package, focusing on mechanics and gameplay to present a challenging experience that over time can be mastered with enough practice. The game gives you additional measures to succeed through in-game resources paired with a difficulty curve that gradually increases, introducing many challenges throughout with a variety of resourceful tactics to overcome them. The large assortment of power-ups was pretty stellar for this time, and each had a distinct flavor that made them fun to give a go. There's plenty of modern takes on the run-and-gun formula, yet for some reason, I'm always drawn back to Contra. More specifically, this one in particular. It's still got great replay value with an additional loop to increase the challenge. You couldn't ask for any better delivery, establishing the blueprint moving forward. With that said, how would the Contra series evolve moving ahead? What new ideas could be implemented in to further build upon these concepts? The sky is indeed the limit, and it's safe to say this won't be our last showdown with an alien invasion. When we return, we will explore the aftermath of said events as our story continues forward with Super C. See you next time, gang.